Hello, I'm the Pageant Nerd and thanks for visiting this nerdy corner of the pageant world. Whether you're a regular or a first timer, I'm super grateful for you being here. The world of Miss Universe moves at such a fast pace these days. I plan to just talk about the closed-door prelims videos released recently and a related idea I've had for some time. But then of course we've had the bombshell announcement that all national franchises are up for renegotiation. It'd be remiss of me to ignore it altogether, but to be honest, I'd rather leave this discussion to other awesome pageant vloggers, those who manage to post content much more regularly than me. Of course, I'm interested to see how this will all play out, and while new Miss Universe owner Kun Ann has said there's been some misunderstanding over the process, a lost in translation situation, it's nonetheless resulted in some current national directors relinquishing their franchises without even attempting to retain them. It seems the very short time frame the directors were given to submit their applications, like a couple of days, caused some angst. And in the case of Putri Indonesia, a lack of advance warning altogether that a new Miss Universe Indonesia national director had been appointed, a friend of Anne's no less. That type of behaviour, handing opportunities to acquaintances at the expense of those loyal to the Miss Universe brand for many years, is definitely concerning. Anyway, as I prefer to do historical or wholly original content, I'm going to leave it at that and move on to the main topic of this video. It was inspired by the release of video from the closed-door preliminary interviews at Miss Universe 2022. Of course, that seems like old news now. If you're a pageant follower from way back like me, you'd know we've been able to watch the swimsuit and evening gown prelims for many years. But for the first time ever, we were afforded a peek into the closed-door interview room. It was fascinating to watch the eventual top 16 semi-finalists in their prelims interviews, given we didn't see all of them in a Q&A setting on finals night. It's also the best chance to see more of their personalities in back and forth dialogue, something we really don't see during the telecast. Overall, it's no surprise these women were selected, as they were all articulate, confident, and thoughtful speakers, at times showing vulnerability and demonstrating how they've overcome major obstacles in life and how they aim to be transformational leaders. I was pleasantly surprised by the questions each of the queens were asked, and how specific they were to each woman's lived experience, and not only generic questions such as, why do you want to be Miss Universe? Or what's the biggest problem the world is facing today? Of course, those generic questions featured, but whether or not these more tailored questions started with the new owners or has been in place for some time, I was really impressed with the amount of research that must have gone into preparing the 80+ sets of questions posed to all the delegates, not just the eventual top 16. I was equally surprised with some of the queens in terms of their eloquence and the substance of their answers, which to me proved that you really can't base your opinions on what you see on social media and just by their physical appearance. And hopefully it also silences some, if not all, of the people who question the inclusion of some women in the semi-finals at the expense of more highly favoured queens. It was also encouraging to see Miss Haiti speak in French, showing that it's not just English speakers who excelled. Having said that, when was the last time we had, for all intents and purposes, an actual Miss Universe who didn't speak any English when she was crowned? Possibly Stefania Fernandez in 2009. The release of these videos and the announcement that we'll be seeing on-screen scores again from Miss Universe 2023 were clear indications that transparency is of high importance to the new owners. Having had a number of years in which a certain former owner hand-picked a certain number of semi-finalists purely based on his personal preferences, which to me, the more you think about it, was utterly disgraceful. This is a nice step forward. The new Thai-based ownership provides the perfect opportunity to elevate the legitimacy of the selection process through all stages of the competition. The release of the prelims interviews and the return of scoring converged with another idea I've had for some time, and have been waiting for the right moment to put into video form. It's a slightly radical idea, so hear me out. With so many shock exclusions in the 2022 edition, sash factor seemed to play less of a part, which to me generally is a good thing. But in order to remove as much sash factor influence as possible in selecting the semi-finalists, why don't we conduct some, if not all, of the preliminary competition without identifying where the delegates are from? That's right, I'm proposing we have blind prelims. Okay, I admit this might be tricky and almost impossible to achieve for the interviews, as this would hinder the contestants' ability to provide specific details about their life experiences. And as I mentioned earlier, it'd be equally hard for the questions posed to the delegates to have any specificity about their background and advocacies. However, this could be easily achieved in the two on-stage performance components, swimsuit and evening gown. Simply put, the delegates would compete on stage without their sashes and would not be identified by their country when introduced by the MC. Sure, the judges may be aware of who some delegates are, with or without sashes, and the screaming and cheering from the crowd would be more prominent for certain countries and might give away their nationalities. But I think we should minimize that unconscious or even conscious bias by downplaying each delegate's country of origin. In the end, what purpose does it serve to know what nation they're representing when they're meant to be judged purely on their stage presence, elegance, and confidence? Of course, we could go to an absolute extreme and hold all three prelims competitions behind closed doors, streamed online maybe, but without an audience in venue. But even I think that might be going too far. The more realistic option would be similar in concept to the TV talent show The Voice, in which the judges initially face away from the singers so they're not swayed by physical appearance and focusing purely on singing ability. Transfer that idea to Miss Universe prelims and the judges would face the stage, but they'd see the contestants perform without any form of identification, eliminating the risk of being swayed by the country printed out across their chest. They perform without sashes on finals night after all. We could even have the contestants come out in random order, not alphabetically. Maybe the selection committee could wear headphones, blocking out the audience noise, while at the same time hearing descriptions of the queens without giving away their country. These are all random ideas, I know, but haven't you, like me, come across some contestants in prelims occasionally and thought one of two things? One, that if they were representing a country with a stronger sash, they'd be a shoo-in for a semi-final spot. Or two, the opposite, that certain delegates wouldn't be as successful if they weren't representing a strong sash nation. A handful of unfairly treated contestants spring to mind. One of the most notable for me was Deborah Henry, Miss Universe Malaysia 2011. With her stage presence and phenomenal speaking ability, put the Philippines or Venezuela sash on her and tell me she wouldn't have made the first cut. For me, an even less celebrated contestant was Kathy May Sitaram, Miss US Virgin Islands from way back in 1992. She was simply stunning, and her performance in prelims should have been enough for her to get a top 10 semi-final spot. And she probably would have if she was representing, say, the USA itself. But alas. Going even further than that, and I think there are certain countries that are chronically overlooked despite regularly sending incredible delegates. Iceland, Korea, and Angola are a few that I can think of. It actually makes me wonder why some countries bother to send delegates at all, when they're so regularly ignored, sometimes undeservingly so. Do you have any similar contestants in mind from weak sash countries that deserve better? Or even entire countries? Leave them in the comments below. If you've been checking out the various interviews Kun Ann has done in recent weeks, you'll know she has some grand plans for the organisation, more of which have been revealed in recent days. This includes how more contestants, not just the ultimate winner, should be equipped with the means to make an ongoing impact after they've competed and returned to their home country. which makes the selection of semi-finalists all the more important. It's not just about selecting the lone winner. It's about finding multiple women capable of being those transformational leaders, whether it be on a national or international level, who'll continue to fly the Miss Universe flag long after the pageant's being held. And really, in an ideal world, where these women come from, what language they speak, what causes they fight for, shouldn't matter. If the new owner's intentions are sincere, then making a difference in all corners of the globe, even in countries where pageants aren't as popular, should be considered a success. Of course, this format would likely mean we'd see shorter placement streaks, much more diverse semi-finals, top fives, and even winners. And certain pageant-crazy nations disappointed on a more regular basis that their bet didn't make the cut. Would this affect TV ratings and even interest in Miss Universe in those countries? Maybe. Miss Universe has struggled enough as it is with TV ratings in recent years, and I'm not so naive to think it's not important for the Miss Universe brand to maintain, let alone grow its popularity in established and new markets, especially those that might be willing to host the pageant in future and/or pay lucrative broadcast rights. On the flip side, maybe having more nations succeed at Miss Universe would strengthen the brand and make it more appealing in more territories. Who knows? I'd originally planned to say that I thought Kun An seemed less focused on the commercial performance of Miss Universe than she was about finding that transformational leader. But clearly in recent days, that theory was blown out of the water. She's even just announced the first ever Miss Universe private jet. Go figure. Nonetheless, hopefully Kun An stays true to her core mission and continues to search for the most deserving queens. Queens, plural, regardless of where they're from. Not just the winner, but her runners-up as well. We've already seen 2 of the 2022 top 5, Dominican Republic and Curacao, travelled with the reigning Miss Universe, the USA's Arabini Gabriel, to Southeast Asia. So, what do you think of this idea? Should the Miss Universe prelims be held blind where possible to remove sash factor influences? Let me know what you think in the comments below, but as always, please keep your thoughts respectful of everyone in our wonderful pageant community. Just a quick final request. If you like my content but haven't subscribed, I'd love for you to get on board. You can also ring the bell to get alerts when I release new content, and if you really love all things pageant nerd, supporting this channel via the super thanks button would be very much appreciated. I'll be back soon with my next video, but in the meantime, it's goodbye from me, the Pageant Nerd.